What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're out on another mobile call looking at a 1998 Chevy Malibu for a P0341 for the cam position sensor. Now what's common on these is for the cam position sensor itself to fail, unlike the Fords that I'm used to where their issue was RFI interference or wiring issues on those. So today we're going to show you how to change out one of these sensors on there. It's pretty easy, but there can be a few complications that occur when changing them out, especially when it has this kind of mileage and this age range on here. So today we're going to walk you through it, and hopefully it helps. It's a very simple procedure, but it's kind of buried in there. So let's get to it. Okay, now with this engine being an overhead valve engine, of course the camshaft's right there in the center under the intake manifold. So the sensor is going to be right above it. And where they have it buried at is behind the power steering pump in the intake there. So you can kind of see it here, but you definitely should be able to see it right there. See the bolt right there? That bolt down there and the wire coming off it, that's the cam position sensor. So we need to unbolt the power steering pump and get it out of the way so we can get down in there. Okay, now I did not bring my good serpentine belt tool with all the leverage and all that, so all I have is this short 3/8 ratchet right here. So we're gonna go ahead and put it just like this, and we're gonna lean on it, and that way we can overcome the tension on there, and we can relieve it like that, just like that. And then we'll go over here, okay, to our power steering pump and just take it off of there and get it out of the way. So we can start pulling the power steering pump off of there. Just like so. Okay, so once the belt is off of there, we can move the pulley around as needed to line up one of these holes with the mounting bolts that mount it to the bracket on here. So there's one like right here. That's probably the easiest one to get to. And you can kind of see this one from the back side there. You just simply loosen it on there. Okay. Now this top one, we'll just get it loose. Now the other one is right about here. You can kind of just feel in there. So we'll loosen this one next. Okay. Now for this one, we can go ahead and just take it all the way out. Oh, good thing I brought my little magnetic tool. Get this thing out of here. What's wrong? GM bolts aren't magnetic? What's going on here? There we go. And they look something like that. Not too long. They should come right out. Okay, so in order to get this last bolt out of here, we need to support the engine from underneath with a block of wood and a jack under the oil pan, the edge there. And then we can proceed to taking these out of here. Throw them off to the side here. Make sure the engine is fully supported first, though. You'll know because you know, there won't be no tension on this block right here or the bolt you're taking out. Get this out of the way. And we can get this block out of here then. There we go. Now we can get to it. Alright, get the last bolt out of there. Get this one nice and loose. And it's a little tricky getting in here, that's why I say, you know, leave that top one in there till we're all done here. There we go. Get her out of there. And then we'll line up the top one here once again. Get this belt out of the way. There we go. Just support the pump. Helps to get it out of there. There it goes. Just dropped. Got a magnet in there. Okay, now at this point, we should be able to move this sucker out of the way. Okay, now the pump is nice and free, but it's a little tricky getting it past all these brackets on here and stuff. The one thing I can tell you is to make sure that this clamp right here, the tangs of it are facing away from this area, and to also take off this fuel pressure test port cap. And that'll give you the smidgen of room that you need to get this thing up and out of here. So you start wiggling it, okay, and we're gonna snake it past there, pick up on this side, okay, and you're just gonna kind of get it past there, and boom, out of the way. Now you can see we can easily get to that cam sensor down in there. Let's go ahead and clean off the area real quick, and then we'll get to replacing it. Now ideally in this case you would use some brake clean and some compressed air down in there. We just have brake clean, so we're just going to spray real quick. And then we'll get a rag in there and clean it a little bit around the area on here. Oh, look at that, it's blue. Much better already. Now what I noticed along the length of the wire on here is there's some damage right here on the wires. There was some chafing right here, and there's some back there by the connector too. So this sensor is done for at this point. Go ahead and clean this area. Major leakage from the intake gaskets already on here, not too worried about it. Okay, now the retaining bolt should be an 8mm. Hopefully it's not seized down there. Nope, we're good to go. Now the bigger question here is, the sensor stuck in there or not? We're gonna find that out. I sure hope it's not. Oh, yanked her out. No sweat. A little tug on the wires. No big deal. We're changing it out anyways. And there it is. Now at this point, clean the area even better, including any debris. Get it up and out like that. Now once the cam sensor is out of there, just follow it along the way it's routed, keep a note of it, and go back to the main engine harness and disconnect it. Now what you may want to do is start trimming some of this this squeeze out on here so we can get the new sensor in there. There we go. Just make sure you don't drop any down in there. Now what I like to do is put a little bit of silicone grease on that O-ring on there, and that allows it to slide in there all the way so you can seat this thing. There we go. Let's go ahead and tighten this down. Get her in there first. It's actually a pretty easy job on here, as long as you have the proper tools. And you just snug this down with a 1/4" ratchet, and it'll be just fine. Route your wiring back over. Alright, let's go ahead and lay our power steering pump back down in here. Same thing, Just move it around a little bit, wiggle this, wiggle that, and we should be able to get it in there. There we go. Just gotta sneak it past everything on there. There we go. Now what I do is I will install this top one here first. That's the easiest one to get to. And then that'll support it so we can do the rest of them. And you can also see it going in the hole and everything else. It's very easy to line up, this top one. So we can get that in and snug by hand like this. Makes it so much easier to line the rest of them up. Okay, once you get all the bolts into the power steering pump, just go ahead and tighten them up by hand, nice and snug. And then go over here to your cam sensor wiring and make sure it's tucked out of the way and it's not chafing on anything like this clamp right here. And just kind of route it on through, make sure there's no chafes. Also, good time before you forget, put this test cap back on. There we go. Alright, let's get this plate back on here. A little wiggle. Okay. We'll start putting our bolts back in. And I start them off by hand with the ratchet here. And this will make sure everything's lined up real nice. No cross threading. The nuts back onto here. There we go. And all the tolerance on here are pretty close, so you can see the old witness marks on here, but the engine shouldn't have moved. Let's start by tightening these down a little bit. We know these are perfectly lined up with their old mark. And this one was threading in real nice. Start bringing the engine up a little bit like that. And this one should line up. We'll tighten these down nice and snug. And we'll finish tightening the nuts by hand here. Same thing, nice and snug. Okay, so go ahead and make sure the belt is routed correctly. There's a marking right on the engine there. Show you the routing, make sure it's on all the grooves all the way around. We're good to go. Now what I do, makes it a lot easier to slip the belt over the smooth pulley, is I'll take it off and I'll put it around the alternator, which is a groove pulley, and we'll just push down on this as we're pulling tension. And it looks a little something like this. Done. There it is, running like a champ, no problems. Check engine lights off, and it's staying off, more importantly. So this is a good fix on this one. There was quite a few different breaks in the wire and chafes and stuff like that on this one. So without a doubt, it's definitely a good fix on here, and should be good to go for a smog test.